All right, so in this lesson, we're going to talk about how to multiply two polynomials together. Last time we talked about how to multiply a monomial times a polynomial. Today, two polynomials. So a couple of things I want you to keep in mind. A reminder that when we add or subtract, we're looking at like terms that we can put together. And like terms, same variable, same exponent, right? So x squareds and x squareds can go together, and then you just change the coefficients. But the exponents don't change, right? When you put an x squared together with an x squared, you get still an x squared. So 5x squared plus 3x squared is 8x squared. But when you're multiplying, you'll notice you can multiply anything together. They don't have to be the same. They don't have to have the same exponents. They do have to have the same base for you to combine them. But notice your exponents will change. Okay, so just kind of keep that in mind as we go through, something to keep straight. All right, today our learning target is to multiply a polynomial by a polynomial. And before we get going today, here's a bag of Sour Patch Kids. How many Sour Patch Kids come in this bag? Okay, so again, our goal is how do I multiply polynomials, and then keep those two things in mind that we just talked about. All right, here are the steps. When you multiply polynomials, you want to distribute, use the distributive property. When you do that, keep in mind, when you multiply two things with the same base, okay, in this case x, the shortcut, instead of writing an expanded notation, is to add the exponents, okay? And then when you're combining like terms, like we just said, putting x squareds together, putting x's together, whatever the case may be, a reminder that your exponents won't change. And then at the very end, don't forget to make sure your answer is in standard form. That means the highest degree down to the lowest, okay? So don't forget that it's in descending order. Okay. So here's how this works. And I have the steps up here. We're going to distribute. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I often draw, really what this distribute means, I'm going to take this x, and I have to distribute it to both of these terms here, okay? Then we're going to do the 3, it's a positive 3, and we're going to distribute it to both of those terms there. So every term has to get distributed to every term. So what I do generally is I say x is going to distribute to here, to 5x, and then we're going to do x to the 2, like that. Let's redraw that, like this. So that's what I'm going to do first. So x times 5x, if it helps you to put a 1 in front and a 1 here, because it's an exponent of 1, do it. Okay, so 1x times 5x would be 5x to the second power. Remember, you're going to add your exponents when multiplying, right? This is really a 1, 2. Okay, so now I'm going to do x times 2. It's a positive 2, so that would be plus 2x. Notice I have a sign. Every time I write a term, I should have a sign in between. Okay, so that would be the first thing. Now, what I'm going to do is take and distribute the 3. So this 3 now I'm going to distribute to this first and then to this. So again, it's multiplication. So 3 times 5x is a positive 15x. Notice once again I have a sign in between, so I write plus 15x. And then 3 times 2 is positive 6. So I'm going to write plus 6. Okay? And notice I have 4 terms. 1, 2, 3, 4. Here's how many terms you should have when you multiply. You have 2 here and 2 here. So 2 times 2, you know, is 4. So when you first multiply these, you should have 4 terms. Okay? So now once you've done that, you want to now look here. It says combine like terms. Remember, exponents won't change when combining coefficients. So I want to look for like terms. And I notice in the middle here, these two terms right here are like terms. They both have an x and they're both raised to the same power, namely 1, right? So we're going to put those two together. Now I'm going to start with my highest degree and work my way down. I don't see any other x squared, so I'm just going to write 5x squared. Okay, I've got 2x and 15x. Those are going to combine to become 17x. It's positive, so put those together. Okay, so now those are gone. And then the only thing I have left is this 6, right? So I'm going to bring that down. Okay, now lastly, it does say to make sure my answer is in standard form. So I want to double check highest degree, that's a 2, this is a 1, and this is a 0. Again, when I combine, I always start with the highest degree and work my way down, just to make sure. But if you do it another way, just make sure you always double check to make sure it's in standard form. And it is. So we're good, and there we go. Okay, now, that's generally how I do it. There are other ways that people multiply these, so I'm going to show you another way that you can do this, and if you want to try this method, you're welcome to. So some people like to make a diagram, and they would write 6y and then 4, okay? And then over here they would write 3y and the -2. And they would draw this kind of diagram. Okay, now you're going to fill in the boxes by, you're going to multiply, right? So this is another way you can do this if you like. So I'm going to go ahead and multiply these now. Let's see, we got 3y times 6y, or 6y times 3y, which is 18y squared. And then I've got 6y times -2, which would be -12y. Okay, and now we're going to do the 4. 4 times 3y is 12y. And then 4 times -2 is -8. Okay, and then you would combine like terms, right? So I like to start with my highest degree one again. So I would look and say, oh, my highest degree one is this term. I don't see any other y squareds, so I would write 18y squared. Now I've used that, so I'm going to cross it out. And then I'm going to say, all right, go to my y's. I've got a 12y and a -12y. Well, 12y minus 12y is 0y, which is just 0. So that, I'm not going to write anything. We don't write 0y, we're just going to leave it blank. And then what do I have left? I got this -8, so I'd write -8. So that's another way you can do that. So if you like the diagram method as opposed to doing this times this, this times this, and then 4 times this, 4 times that. Either way, you get the same answer, so you can use the diagram or the arrow method. It doesn't really matter. You choose the way that's most comfortable from you. Okay. All right. So now as the polynomials get bigger, how does this work? Well, it works the same. It just has, it just seems like there's more going on. So one of the things that I like to kind of keep in mind before I distribute is this is 2 terms and this is 3 terms, notice? So when I multiply these together, I should have first to begin with 6 terms. So I'm going to kind of keep that in mind when I distribute, so I make sure I distribute everything. So really, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do, with the arrows, 2m times all 3 of these. So this is really what I'm doing, okay? So I'm going to start with the blue, and we should have 2m times -4m squared. We're going to start there. So that would be -8m to the 3rd power. If you need to put a 1 on the m up there just to make sure, go for it. Okay, so now I'm going 2m times -10m. Okay, so that would be, again, if you want the 1 on the m, there you go. This would be -20m squared. Okay, and then 2m times 3, which is 6m. Okay, cool. And then now I'm going to do negative 5 times all of those. So I'm going to say negative 5 times negative 4m. Be very careful with your signs. That's positive 20m squared. Now I'm going to go negative 5 times negative 10m, which is positive 50m. And then now I've got, let's see, negative 5 times 3, which is negative 15. Oops, I forgot my m here. Don't forget things like that. Easy to do, and it will give you the incorrect answer if you're not careful. Okay, so now step 1, I distributed. Notice I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 terms. That's what I wanted. So I'll double check that. Now I'm going to combine like terms to make sure I've got everything. So combine like terms. Again, I start with the highest one and work my way down. So I have that m to the third, so negative 8m to the third, nothing else. Now I do my squares. So I got negative 20m squared and positive 20m squared. Oh, those cancel out. Negative 20 plus 20 is 0m squared. We don't write it then. Okay, so then I have 6m and 50m. That's 56m. And then lastly we have negative 15, so that's the last thing there. Again, make sure my answer's in standard form. 3, 1, 0, yep, standard form. And we're good. That's my answer. So that's how multiplication works, okay? And now we're going to try one more. It's kind of a big one here. And when I start, I got 3 terms here and 3 terms here. So I should have a total of 9 to start. That's going to be a lot, right? It's going to be kind of weird. So you can use the diagram method if you want. If you want to write 2x squared, negative 3x, and 1, and then 3x squared minus 4x, and then minus 7, and combine everything, that's fine. I'm going to do just kind of, I'm actually just going to look at this, and I'm going to try to keep everything straight. And here's what I think. I'm going to start with this term and know I have to distribute it to all 3 of these. Okay, and then I'm going to move to this and distribute it to all 3 of these. And then I'm going to do this and distribute it to all 3 of these. Okay, so that's going to be my process. So I'm starting with this times all of these. Here we go. So 2x squared times 3x squared is 6x to the 4th. Okay, 2x squared times negative 4x is negative 8x to the 3rd. Again, if it's helpful to put the ones up here, do it. So you don't forget. Okay, now 2x squared times negative 7 is negative 14x squared. All right, now I'm going to go to a different color just so we're pretty clear about what's happening. Okay, so now I'm going to take this, and again, that negative is important. Make sure you watch your signs. I'm really taking negative 3x times all of these right here. So here we go. Negative 3x times 3x squared is negative 9x to the 3rd. Okay? Negative 3x times negative 4x is positive 12x squared. And then negative 3x times negative 7 is positive 21x. Okay, lots going on, right? All right, now we're going to do 1 times all of these. So 1 times 3x is 1 times 3x squared is 3x squared. 1 times negative 4x is negative 4x. And then 1 times negative 7 is negative 7. Okay, now notice I have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 terms. That's what I wanted. So now I'm going to put together stuff and Again, I like to start with my highest one and work my way down. So here we go. Biggest one I see is 6x to the fourth. And I notice that there are no other ones. So I'm going to write 6x to the fourth. When I combine like terms, remember, they have to be exactly the same. Only coefficients change. So now I'm going to go down to my x to the thirds here and here. -8 minus 9 is -17 x to the third. Again, my exponents stay the same there. All right, now I'm going to do, let's see, x squareds. I got -14, 12 x squared, and another one here, 3x squared. So I'll go -14 plus 12 plus 3. You can use your calculator if you want. -14, 14 plus 12 plus 3. I get 1. So 1x squared, or just x squared. You can put a 1 in there if you want. Now I have 21 minus 4, which is 17. It's positive, so 17x. And then lastly, -7. And then make sure your answer is in standard form. 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. It's going from biggest to smallest. So we're good. So this is my answer right here. All right. And that is how you multiply polynomials. Write that into your planner. Check it off when you submit it. Hope that makes sense.